Gonna do a hard cut to my face again. Hello. Welcome. I hope you're doing alright today. Life is a pretty wild journey, isn't it? There's a situation unfolding within the community of my family, and it was a bit difficult to process. But one thing that I would like to share with you from that experience is that practicing gratitude is free and very rewarding at the same time. Celebrate the present moment in whatever way you can. And perhaps a good way to do that would be joining me on a bit of a journey. Hello and welcome. I hope you're doing well. If I didn't say that before, please let me know how you're doing. If you feel like giving me a window into your reality through a few characters in a chat, I would love it, but you don't have to. You can do whatever you want. Today, we're going to be looking at Chatterbox. We're going to be studying, and then we're going to be writing the first words of the video game, the first words of the Curator. And that is how I'm going to celebrate imagination, creativity, the freedom to create in whatever way I choose to do so. So if you've ever been curious how branching dialogue trees work in video games, this isn't the only way, but it is a way that it could work, using Chatterbox in Game Maker. That's how I intend to make my game. Since I don't know how to find people who would help me have an easy job of simply focusing on writing, I'm instead doing everything involved with creating a video game, including learning how to code. And marketing, I guess, which is what we're doing now, right? Showing you that I'm doing things, sharing the journey of creation with you. Usually we see the end result. We see the commercially viable. But today, we're going to take a look behind the scenes. Maybe not into a necessarily common experience, but one that may very well be relatable. Learning. I actually made a medium screen for this. I'm going to switch to that. This is what I've got for us today. On one side, we have the Chatterbox documentation. On the other, we have a relatively blank document where we can take notes. So let me show you real quick. I'll do, we'll go here, go here, go here. This is what we're looking to set up. This right here is Crochet. Crochet is a like an editor for creating these conversations. Like if we look at this one that I came up with real quick, I establish a variable in the beginning. I guess, I don't know, I just put that there. There are two people, person and other person. One person says hello. They says hello. The other person says that's a weird thing to say. And then we jump to a new one. Of course, you can add jump. You can create new modules and nodes, I think is the word that they use. Node-based editor to create a ton of conversation potential. So we'll be doing that today. We're going to come up with the first words of the Curator. And I'll explain why that's going to be a profound thing to do. Which I guess I could do now. Give you a little bit of context on the journey ahead. What we're looking for in reading the documentation is going to be knowledge of how to structure our notes. Because I know there are specific symbols and functions that you can call. You can create your own as well, but very specific things already built in that we can use to make this a lot easier and make it flow a lot better. I've already looked at the documentation a little bit, so I'm not going to be reading the entire thing. I'm just going to be looking for like the key points and doing like a surface reading so that I know what format to use. So we're going to go from there and just do whatever we want. So Chatterbox notes, I already have everything set up. I even imported the .yyMPS into a empty project in Game Maker Studio 2. So we'll be ready to jump in there as soon as I get my messages out and make sure that people are okay with my showing off their creations. All right. So overall, Chatterbox is a game maker implementation of the Yarn language used in games. Yarn is designed to be accessible to writers who have little or no programming knowledge. It makes no assumptions about how your game presents dialogue to the player or about how the player chooses their responses. Yarn has lots of thorough documentation. I'm sure there's a hyperlink there. Syntax and features specific to Chatterbox can be found here. Chatterbox attempts to be a full implementation of the Yarn specification. If there's anything missing, please create an issue. Yarn files can be written by hand, but the best way to start with Yarn is to use an editor, which is exactly what we'll be doing. So basically, there is a line of symbols, letters, words even on occasion, I imagine. There's a collection of information, of data, which can be interpreted and applied if that language is expected. Think for a second MIDI, often used in the music industry and performance with synthesizers. MIDI is a type of language as well. C#, a type of language. Game maker language, a type of language. There are programs designed to interpret and to react to these languages in a certain way. They are like the translators and the executors of the desire expressed through the language. Yarn is a very specific one, and that's what we'll be working with here. So the main thing I need to know, I already read all this. You don't really have to know that stuff. This you don't have to know either. I already did that. About and support, you don't have to worry about any of that. So actually what we can do is we can go here. We don't need alternatives. Getting started. I already did that. Flow control, maybe we should look at that. Drawing Chatterbox text, we'll do that a little later. What I would like to know more about is flow control real quick. Flow control functions are the way that you as a developer control how Chatterbox moves around inside a Yarn script file. They have a list. There are a ton of things that we can do, and there are some that we can do inside of the Yarn script. Jump is like a big one, so I'm going to write that down, even though I already know it. Jump, and then title, I guess. Transitions to new node in crochet. That's what we need for that one. So what we have here is more stuff that we'll get to. We'll get to all of this, which is setting it up so that the program knows how to use the information it's received from the file presented. So stop. I don't think we're going to use that today. We'll just get back to that later. We don't need to look at any of that. We don't need to look at drawing. We'll get to that at another point. There's a tutorial, which I'm sure is incredible. We'll get to that in a second. Concepts, Yarn script. This is what we want to look through. This is where we'll find the variables and conditionals and functions. Exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so nodes are containers. That's exactly what we have here. This is a node. This little box. This is another one. That little box. We have a title in the beginning. So we could have title. That's the name of the node. We can have tags, which I'm sure can be connected and perhaps even recalled. I don't know. We're about to find out. But it has can have multiple nodes, and in this particular file, the nodes are delineated using 3 equals characters, which I don't think we'll have to worry about ourselves, but at least not right now. It says, additionally, Yarn can check if a node has been visited by calling visited node name in an if statement. That could be very good. So visited, we'll put this in a separate one here. Visited node name checks to see if a node has been visited. I love how much that makes sense. That was really good. I love semantic, just everything. Everything's semantic. You write a story and it turns into a program. I would love that. I guess that's what I'm doing, isn't it? Visited node name checks to see if a node has been visited. You can do if visited node name is... Nope. It's this one. There we go. True. And then over there does the thing. I'll just put that in yarn. How about that? So that's how we can check to see if the current instance of the game has visited that particular node, that little moment, I guess. So basically you could have it set up so like in the beginning you say something, you set up some stuff, you go from there. And then you can have a branching dialogue tree that goes in and among itself in whatever way you can imagine. And then if something is important, as in you're going to talk to the curator about a particular thing, if it has been mentioned so far in the conversation, other dialogue options could be presented. So we could have it seem like, or feel like an evolving narrative designed to react to your interests, your responses, your decisions. Even responding to such a degree that, oh yeah, when we were talking about that earlier, this happened, that kind of thing. I've seen that done in some Bethesda titles. Always one of my favorite things, when an NPC remembers a dialogue choice from a long time ago. All right, let's see. We have options as well. So options allow for small branches in yarn scripts without requiring extra nodes. Options can have any number of sub-branches, but it's recommended that branching is kept somewhat limited for the sake of script readability. I'll be reading it. I don't think anyone else will, so I'm just going to go with whatever makes sense to me. But it looks like this is what we have. We have the dialogue option being preceded by an arrow. So if we do that, indicates an option in dialogue. I feel like I read that somewhere else too. Maybe I skipped a section. Oh well. Characters. So we have name indicates which character is speaking. Interesting. Okay, we might have to take a look at something else real quick as well. But shortcut options can utilize conditional logic actions and functions and can include standard node links. So we could have you choose a dialogue option and it can jump to, like this, ate a burger is the title of a node. Title of a gnome. I mean, sure, why not? So if you choose a burger, Bob says, nice, enjoy, and then you transition to the ate a burger node. In this way, we can make any choice go anywhere. We could even code, if we wanted to, an infinite cycle of repeating. I'm pretty sure. That little bit of information suggests to me that if someone ends up in a circular logic loop, that's the game now, is to see how long they can click the same buttons, I guess. I don't know. That's a thing. That happens a lot, doesn't it? When NPCs run out of new dialogue lines, they just say the same thing again and again and again. Alright, so we also have random outcomes, which we don't have to worry about. Random options are cool. You can actually determine how likely each option is. You can even have if statements to determine whether those options are even considered, which I think is really cool. The main thing we're going to use, I think, is the jump action, which would move us from the current node to a destination node, like it says here. We can use that after dialogue options that allow for branching dialogue organized across multiple nodes. Oh yeah, you can even do that with other files. Nice. All right. So this is what I want to look at now that we know this. I think that sums up pretty much everything I need to do today. But we're going to go to an introduction, I suppose. Yeah, let's take a look at this again. Okay, so that's variables and conditionals. Yeah, okay. Okay, cool. I remember that now. In that case, we have the implementation available there. It's procedurally processed, I believe. Options work similarly to a line of dialogue, but have a little arrow at the start of the line. So, when you want dialogue to be separated into different lines, you simply put it in a new line. Very easy, very straightforward, and I appreciate that. The logic to navigate it, we're going to compose mostly in Game Maker. For basically, Game Maker is going to decide what we do with this information, but we're going to put a little bit of it together today. I'm focusing mostly on getting a little bit of the formatting right and figuring out what the first words are of the curator. Okay, so you can have dialogue after an option. You have to indent and place it immediately after. And then you can add other things, I imagine. And options for options. Yeah, here we go. This is where it says angle brackets. We have the thing that we are doing. Set and jump, GML implementation. We'll get to that next time. Okay, so if we bring this over here, we take a look at this. We can get rid of this just random stuff I put together. We can get rid of that. We can delete that node. Start at the beginning. So, the very first line of dialogue, code for the curator begins with a title. The first words. Let's see. I don't really want to put anything there. I'll leave a space so I can come back to it. Curator is the first character, I guess. I don't know. I'll probably have to go back and edit this, of course, but that's how I anticipate this process going. The more I learn, the more I'll have to go back and change things. We'll see how that goes. So let me explain real quick what it is we're doing. I can even go back to my full face if you want to hang out in my room. It's kind of a mess. It's not very big, but it works, and I am so thankful for that. So grateful to have it. All right, so in this game, the curator, you are playing a character, I suppose, but also yourself at the same time. This character that you're playing is someone who has lived a life up to this moment, and then in this moment they have acquired a window into worlds beyond. In a sense, they have transcended their reality. their universe, their multiverse, their world, whichever word you want to use. And they are face to face with an entity beyond the boundaries of their reality in the meta multiverse, the Curator. The Curator's role in the meta multiverse is to say hello, to design experiences for people, to show them the unlimited nature of their being, of their power. And in the context of a video game and or a TTRPG, it is also to set up a world, to choose a world in the infinite meta-multiversal space. The Curator designs an experience. In this game, what that means is that during this conversation, the Curator will be asking questions, commenting on the nature of reality, on the insight derived from simply existing. Asking questions along the way, many, many questions. And while that is happening, the Curator is gaining insight into what the player would appreciate. What kind of world would be best for them to visit? What experience they would want to do? That, translated to actual mechanics, means that while we are having this conversation, we are also sending information to GameMaker. We are letting it know this variable should be this. For example, if the Curator asks you, what do you think is the value of dissonance? Are challenges worthwhile or necessary? And your response suggests that dissonance is inevitable, that challenges are there so that they can be overcome. Well, the game, or the chatterbox tells GameMaker that we should probably set the difficulty of whatever game we choose to higher in some way. We should make it more difficult. So instead of, giving you a menu where you choose the game elements and the difficulty and everything, we have everything custom made for you based on your reaction to a conversation with a meta-multiversal entity. And then you get to play the game. I have a few different games that I'm going to be designing. It's going to be a platformer. We're going to do a farming sim, because that sounds fun. An action RPG, and like a asteroids, space rocks kind of thing. Spacey Pew Pew was the one that I made when I first found that tutorial. So that kind of thing. We're going to make all of those and put all of those together. And then the player will get one of those little worlds, one of those little games, accommodating their interpreted sensibilities, because, anybody could play this game. There's no way I'm going to know. So variables will be inserting here. But for today, the first words of the Curator. When this multiversal entity says hello and welcomes you to the meta-multiverse, to a space between everything, what does the Curator say? Hello, maybe? Hello seems interesting. Hi, probably not. Welcome, perhaps? How about this? Ooh, this would be good. Let me go over here, make sure I'm actually typing on the thing. You've arrived. You've arrived. All right, so this is what we need. I have Curator as a name. Now I need to make sure that this works a certain way. We got to make sure that it works right. No, we don't have to. Actually, I could do that later. I could figure it out and study, and I don't know if anybody wants to see that process, but I don't need GML implementation. Crochet moves. Chatterbox's implementation. Yeah. Flow control, drawing, chatterbox text. Look at that real quick. All right. We got more. We can do all of that, which I'll get into next time. I wonder if we do this. You've arrived. Congratulations. And welcome. If anybody knows anything about what I'm doing, please let me know what you think. If I'm doing anything that makes sense, I would like to learn more about this, which is what I'm trying to do. Anyway, imagine this. You transcend your reality. You find yourself in the meta-multiversal space. You talk with the Curator. The Curator says, "You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome." Then we have dialogue options. So I'm thinking this probably works this way. If it doesn't, I'll just fix it. This Curator thing, I don't think even has to be here, honestly. I feel like we can make this a lot more simple because the Curator is the only NPC in this part of the game anyway. The only NPC who's going to use this branching dialogue. So you've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. Now we have to come up with options. This is what I'm thinking, right? I think having 4 options as a default is a pretty good way to go. Now, I know having more than 3 is so much work. It's a lot of work to even have more than 1, honestly. But I think 4 to start is pretty good. The importance of the number 4. Coincidentally, viewer, you are represented by the number 4 currently, in case you were wondering. I hope you like being the number 4. Among other things, of course. Your reality is infinite. Okay. So we can go with 4 options. The first response, what do you say when the Curator says you've arrived? Congratulations and welcome. Thank you? Maybe? Let me see. We want a space here. That does seem to be... Yeah, there we go. It turned green. So we have a space. Header tags, tag name, space separated. Okay. All right. You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. Thank you. What's another one? Does anybody have any thoughts on what you would say to the Curator? Would you transcend your multiverse? My friend says, where am I? Where am I? All right, so I know, like, I'm thinking ahead too, right? Because when you're creating dialogue options, you have to have an idea of where they're going to go. And a good practice, or at least one that I've seen followed pretty often, is to bring your branching dialogue options back to a certain point. So basically, like, taking everything, you can separate off into nodes or have different options like we have here, having the player choose between them, but then to bring them back to a fixed point, which is really awkward sometimes because you could be, especially if you try to like diversify your options to be like, the player is a jerk or the player is actually pretty chill, then you have to come up with a way for both of those options to effectively have very limited consequences in the conversation that's happening. And sometimes it's a little awkward. It's a little weird. It's like just a second ago I was insulting you and now we're friends again. That kind of thing. Definitely possible. So I'm excited to explore that. I'm really excited to work with this whole thing and to actually try it myself. So I guess we'll see how it goes. So the first one is thank you. Where am I? Another one is hello again, old friend. My friend says, thanks. I just have a quick question. Where am I? Who are you? How did I get here? What's going on? Oh, that's pretty good. So yeah, I'm also going to have to figure out how to adapt the length, I guess, to actually like the formatting. So when the next thing I want to do is like after I get the first words, I want to go into Game Maker and set up like a test basically to see if I can call the information out of the file and display it in a way that's coherent. That'll give me a better idea of the limitations involved and how I can adapt, like where I can adapt and make something that not only works, but looks good. So we'll play around with that. Thank you. Where am I? Hello again, old friend. How about this? Wait. You're not... I don't know. Does anybody have a name? Like some random story that we never get to hear about, but we have like the story hook for it. Wait, you're not... What? You're not what? You're not... I'm thinking like the plague of corruption, perhaps. You're not Dignitary Graves. Zachariah, huh? I wonder who that character would be. How about that? Wait, you're not Zachariah, the Endless Plague. I don't know. Don't forget to drink water. Yeah, I guess it has been half an hour. 33 minutes and 3 seconds. A reminder to embrace and celebrate creativity and to stay hydrated along the way. How about this? Zachariah, the divine soul. Now we have to decide what we do with these responses. Now, what I'm thinking here is like, do we have just short, brief little responses here, or do we separate into nodes just from the start? You know, thinking about scaling and everything. This node, I think, is going to be very unique in its design because this is the beginning. These are the first words. This isn't going to happen again unless we cycle the dialogue back to the beginning of the game, the experience back to the beginning of the game. Like you play your game, there is a win state. When you achieve the win state, you return to the introduction to the meta multiverse. So we have that option, hello again, old friend. So that we can be like, okay, I've done this before. I know who you are. Thank you. Thank you for existing. It's good to see you. Let's see. I think we could do that. The endless game, where you could play through multiple games in having different conversations along the way. Huh. How far do we want to take that is the question, you know? Because we could do a lot with that if we wanted to implement that. What I can do for now, actually, is I can create the foundational nodes or just create the options for moving forward. And then I can come back and do the second layer. Kind of like how Starfield ended up playing out, right? Because they had Starborn dialogue options, but they didn't really work well all of the time. Most of the time they were pretty awesome. I loved them a lot. But some of them were a little awkward. It was kind of like the game forgot that you had already done something sometimes, or maybe it didn't know to think about it. I don't know. It's an interesting experience. So, thank you. Thank you? What would the curator say? You are absolutely welcome. I'm glad you are here. Maybe I should change this. Maybe thank you? No, you're absolutely welcome is a good recognition of the thank you. I feel like that works, right? I'm wondering if I should put this in a separate line, the I'm glad you're here. Because we have you've arrived, congratulations and welcome. I think those deserve to be on separate lines. You're absolutely welcome. I'm glad you're here. I think that's good together. Do you remember where here is? Now, I know there's something we can do here, actually. We can go with an option here, here, where we do yes. Though I'm not sure why. We can go with yes, of course. And we can go with no. I don't think I've been here before. Now here's where we can do something really interesting, actually. So I just had the idea to separate nodes into topics, right? Separate nodes into topics. So the first would be like where here is, like what is here. So if you go hello again, old friend, you don't go through the where is here. If you say yes, though I'm not sure why, we can add to that. Yes, of course, you would go to where hello again, old friend happens, I guess. You can go where that takes you. No, I don't think I've been here before. Takes you directly to where is here. Maybe I should do that. We could add that, actually. Let me check. Maybe we'll do that, and then we have to do this again. Jump. Where is here? That should add a new node once we get back to the menu there, the workspace, I guess. Yes, of course. An interesting idea. My friend says, on a return visit, I had almost convinced myself this place was a dream. That is pretty good. Yeah, we can actually do that here instead of the yes, of course, because I was thinking saying yes, of course, after thank you is, it has an interesting energy to it, one that I would like to explore, but I don't think I'm going to. Yes, though I'm not sure why. Yes. Yes. But I thought it was a dream. How about that? I really like how you worded that. I had almost convinced myself this place was a dream. I do like that a lot. Maybe we could do that for Hello Again, Old Friend. That would be cool. I think that energy would work really well in that section. Hello again, old friend. You know what we could do? We could have that option, and then we could have another option that says, I'd almost convinced myself this place was a dream. Yeah, so we can do that, and then I think we'll have to do that. That goes there, that goes there, that goes there. I think I've got the formatting pretty good so far. So that should be fine. Where am I? Where am I? Yeah. Where am I? Thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer that question. And then it jumps to where is here. Yeah, here we go. All right. Ooh, how about this? Does anybody have an opinion here? I would love to hear what you think. If I don't think I've been here before is the player's choice, is the player's response, what do we say about that? You know, we could say a lot of things. We could say, we could confirm that it's their first time, or we could, we could comment on the nature of remembering, right? Remembering, especially when you apply it to meta multiversal transcendent consciousness, it brings into question the permanence, I suppose, the continuity of experience beyond a lifetime. So if we confirm that they haven't been here before, then that says that consciousness created within the engine that is a multiverse can evolve to go beyond its boundaries, which is, you know, that's kind of like the core mechanic of a lot of things that I do. So I think I'd like to go for that, actually, now that I talk about it. You hadn't, but now you have. How about that? This is a pretty funny conversation. You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. Thank you. You are absolutely welcome. I'm glad you're here. Do you remember where here is? No, I don't think I've been here before. You hadn't, but now you have. And then it jumps to, this is the meta multiverse. At the beginning of where is here. Thank you. I'm thinking about changing this. Of course. My friend, I'm glad you're here. How about that? Do you remember where here is? Where is here? You hadn't, but now you have. Okay, well, okay, interesting. All right, so I'm just trying to make sure that I've got a couple of these things sorted well enough. Let's initializing GML implementation. I'm going to look at this. So let's set, and then we have that. Okay, so that's how we can tie things back together. What I'm doing is like basically starting off with the first words, creating responses and determining destinations at the tail end of those responses. Because these definitely go to different places. They have different conversational courses. And then I could check, oh, my friend Joe says he could say, that's not unusual. This place is hard for the mind to process and hold on to. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna bring that in. I think that would actually be really good right here. Let's see. If we do hello again, old friend, and then you get the response, which has to be indented past the symbol, I think. I'd almost convinced myself this place was a dream. Yeah, no, that's not unusual. I like that. I also think, like, what I usually say is, like, that makes sense, you know, to validate the experience before offering commentary. That's not unusual is really good too, because that brings a sense of connection between the consciousness that has arrived. You know, it gives you a sense of normalcy in what is otherwise a very unusual place itself. So I like that too. That's not unusual. Yeah. How about this? We'll try this and we'll edit it. We'll go from there just to write something down. That makes sense. In or through the limited lens of a singular multiverse. The infinite and interconnected is often lost. Obscured by obscured by what? The box, I guess? The pocket, perhaps? Is often lost. Obscured by forgetfulness. And yet, here you are once again. That's pretty good. I like that idea. Yeah. Bringing attention to the place being hard for the mind to process and hold on to. I think that's really good for the dream line. Yeah, I like that a lot. My friend Raven says, yeah, when all you've known and considered is a single universe, this would be hard to grasp. Yeah, it's very, very fair, I imagine. Let's see. Where am I? Hello again, old friend. I'd almost convinced myself this place was a dream. That makes sense. Through the limited lens of a singular multiverse, the infinite and interconnected is often lost, obscured by forgetfulness. And yet, here you are once again. Wait, you're not Zachariah, the divine soul. I'm excited to get to that option too. So far we have a destination for one of the 4 initial options. We have a destination for one of the responses to one of the courses of one of the responses. So we'll keep working. We'll figure it out. We'll get the first word sorted, and we'll see how that goes. All right. Thank you. Of course, my friend. I'm glad you're here. Do you remember where here is? Yes, though I'm not sure why. Actually, you know what we could do? We could use that again. What if we use this here? And then from there, we can have a dialogue option that you have to choose. That one is... Where exactly is here? And then we would jump to where is here. So we can have like this one cycle back. You know, we have an element of confusion. We have the thank you. We have yes, though I'm not sure why. And then it jumps to where is here. So this one where it's like uncertain, where is here? We go through that. When we have yes, but I thought it was a dream, that one's a little more certain. So what we can do is actually take this part, we can use this again, use the same line. And if I change it, if I edit it, I'll just do that to all of them. It's in the same node, it shouldn't be hard. And then we can paste that. And then instead of jumping to where is here, we can follow a similar train as the hello again old friend branch. So we've got the first one, thank you, some dialogue, more options for responses. 2 out of 3 of them jump to where is here. The last one we're still working on, yes, but I thought it was a dream. Where am I? Thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer that question. Then we go to where is here. Hello again, old friend. Wait, you're not Zachariah the Divine Soul. Yeah, maybe not. My friend Raven says, I feel like you could easily get lost in making more and more responses to dialogue. Yeah, no, definitely. That's why so let me explain like what I'm imagining, because there is an end to it. It's not going to go on forever. That end is basically when we get to a point where, so when you say hello again, old friend, or you say yes, but I thought it was a dream, you go on a small tangent where you reminisce, basically. You talk about the world, the multiverse, the meta-multiverse, in a way that the other branches don't. And then it's all tied back in. The end of that way that others don't is tied off with okay, you know what's going on, you know what this place is, let's have a conversation. The way the jump where is here goes, you get the exposition of the meta-multiverse. You get to know more about where here actually is. You go on a little bit of a side quest, basically. And then that line, that branch ends with, now that you understand where you are, let's have a conversation. So it all comes back to let's have a conversation. So we have like this blossoming of dialogue options that all come back down to one point where you're having a conversation with the curator to design the universe that you're going to experience in the game that they're going to create for you. So this part, it seems pretty big, but it isn't going into like, it's, you know, it's not branching off infinitely. It's going to cycle back. It's just going to get there in two distinct ways, where one, you don't know what's going on, and two, you're pretty sure or you're pretty confident. They kind of like have a similar energy. So that's gonna be its own thing as well. So let's see here. We've got that one tied off. That one's fine. That one's fine. That one's fine. So really all we need to do is figure out what we do with these other two. Here's what we can do. So we can have the players select more dialogue, and I'm pretty sure this is how it works. This option, because you don't need multiple options to have an option. This option says, how can we tie them together? If this is real, then you're the curator. And then here we could have an option that says, oh yeah, you know what we could do actually? I think like for replayability and stuff, we could have both of these dialogue options take you straight to the conversation. So we can actually have, yes, but I thought it was a dream. If this is real, then you're the curator. The curator says something and asks a question. Would you like to talk about this place, or would you like to have a conversation? We'll make it, whatever it needs to be. And then they have a binary option there. If they say, yes, I'd love to learn about this place, then we jump to where is here. If they say no, then we jump to the same destination as hello again, old friend. Hello again, old friend skips the exposition straight to the conversation that determines the game that you have, so that when people play it again to get a different conversation and a different game, they don't have to go through the where is here exposition every single time. They have a chance to just skip ahead, basically, and still have dialogue that makes it feel like a coherent journey. So what would hello again, old friend be followed by? Hello again, old friend. I'd almost convinced myself this place was a dream. That makes sense. Through the limited lens of a singular multiverse, the infinite and interconnected is often lost, obscured by forgetfulness. And yet, here you are, once again. And here you remain, curator. How do I... Maybe I should put that in one thing, because I haven't actually seen that elsewhere. Is it time for another conversation? Here we go. And here you remain, curator. Is it time for another conversation? It is, if you believe it to be. Yes. All right, so the character, the player character in this case, says, hello again, old friend, and then says, is it time for another conversation? Begins the conversation of the conversation. The curator says, it is if you believe it to be. Yes. And then from that point, we can think about how we're going to jump to the next part. So where is here is going to tie off with, allow me to explain the conversation that I intend to share with you, or whatever, however we want to word it when we get there. Then it goes to the beginning of the conversation. The conversation itself begins with a question. That question could be many, many things. I'm sure we'll figure it out, but it'll begin with a question. So that is important to keep in mind as we're tying off these narrative branches. It is if you believe it to be. Yes. If you're ready, let's begin with a question. And then we could do, as always, as always. And then after that, we go all the way over here, and then we jump to conversation start. How about that? All right. So this is what we have, right? Hello again, old friend. We have a little bit of a conversation here. Not a whole lot of like multiple branches or anything. It's pretty linear once you get to this option. Just goes straight from hello again, old friend to jumping to the conversation start. Okay. So then, I thought it was a dream. If this is real, then you're the curator. The curator says, I am indeed. And if you remember... Oh, no, I was going to do something else. I am indeed. Do you remember our last conversation? And then here we do more options. Yes. Nope, I gotta put a space. Yes. And I'm ready for the next. Or... yes. But I'd like to hear about this place again. And then we'll have another one, a third one. No, not quite. Can you remind me of where here is? No, not quite. Can you remind me of this place? Can you remind me? No, not quite. Can you tell me? No. Can you remind me of where we are? Now, this is another thing that I want to mention real quick because I'm really excited about this potential too. What you can do as well, you see how we have these jump options here under the, I guess the, under this dialogue option that we could choose, the player can choose. We can also do other functions exactly like this. So we can set variables equal to something. I think I read somewhere in the documentation for Chatterbox that the variables are stored in a particular place. My friend says, no, I can't see what you're typing. Oh, yeah, of course. Thank you for reminding me. Let's go back to the medium screen. You can actually see what's on here. Yeah, nice. All right. So anyway, it says right here, jump, where is here? We can actually do different functions like setting variables and whatnot. We can do a lot of stuff like that. And those are stored and we can recall them and use a bunch of if statements. So basically we can have, like, at a later point, we can differentiate between the initial responses. So the initial responses actually are setting variables as well for the conversation itself. That's what I'm aiming for. That's what I want to do. You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. If you chose thank you, for example, it sets you up with a variable that tells it tells the file itself later on that you said that, basically. So we can do that. We can do that for sure. I'm going to do that later when I have the rest of the infrastructure built. But for now, we'll make sure that we have jumps at the end of everything. Is it real? Yes, no, not quite. I'm here to help. So, of course, I can. And then we'll just go here. We'll do jump to where is here. All right, so that's that one. Yes, but I'd like to hear about this place again. We can do a similar thing. We just go... And I would love to tell you about it. My friend says, what a reminder. A very good idea. It's been 1 hour and 6 minutes and 55 seconds since I began this stream, and I've had water once this whole time. Another response to hello, old friend could be, do I know you? Yeah. I think that kind of energy is like... I guess we don't have a whole lot like directly about the curator. The curator basically when you arrive is working now, is getting to work, understanding you, understanding what you want to do, where you want to go. So there's not a whole lot of who are you kind of thing. There's not a lot of that going on. But what we can do is we can actually we can have where is here. And then we could set it up a little differently for the where is here branch. So what we could do is like, we can have the curator say, this is the meta multiverse and I am the curator. And then we could have that be a node that splits into multiple sections that can return to the beginning. Turn to the beginning of that section of the branch, basically. So you can ask questions like, what is the meta multiverse? And that takes you to a new node, which then cycles back. And I saw a tutorial that says to me that it's possible to omit options that have already been chosen, or to change them, make them unselectable in some way. So that is what we're going to do at that point. It'll be like, you can ask about the meta multiverse. You can ask about the curator. You can also say a few other things, I'm sure. We'll make it up. We'll make it up when we get there. But that's what I'm thinking is like, when we get to where is here, we also have the option for who are you? And then we can do basically what we're doing here, where it's jump where is here. We could do jump who are you? And then go from there. I don't really want to make it complex enough to have like the who are you an option in the beginning. I think where is here is like generally the first question people would ask when you transcend to enter the meta multiversal space. Who are you becomes like, I always feel like that's the second question, like where am I? Who are you? Instead of who are you? Wait, where am I? That happens too. But I'm going to go with this for now. Simply because I think the curator brings your attention to the place that you're at first, initially, because that is easier to explain, I guess, right? So it begins with you've arrived. You are here. You are in this place. Of course, it's like, what is going on? And the curator guides the questions towards here. What is here? Where are we? What is the significance of here and now? So that's kind of where I'm trying to take everything right now. But then, do I know you is going to be an option as well when we get to after, I guess, like when we get into the exposition part, because right now it's just framing the initial node so that we can branch off and try to follow things to something resembling a coherent narrative, which adapts to the input that you give it. Okay, so that one's fine. If this is real, then you're the curator. I am. Okay. I would love to tell you about it. And then we can do jump. Where is here? Do you remember our last conversation? Yes, and I'm ready for the next. That would be, I called it jump conversation start. Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's check. We have this, which gives multiple options. This option has one which has a destination. This option has one which has 3, which all have destinations. This one has nothing and has a destination. This one just goes straight to a destination as well. This one has an option, an option, an option that goes to a destination. So the last one is pretty much all we need to do to figure out what this one means. Wait, you're not Zachariah, the Divine Soul. I might change that, though. I might change it to something from the Multiverse of Aether. I don't know. I think that would be fun. How about that? Wait, you're not Anata. You're not Anata. What's a good name for Anata? Anata is like, I mean, the deity of introspection, I suppose. Deity of introspection. And then we could have another one without a response. You have another one, or are you? Yeah, there we go. Wait, you're not Anata, the deity of introspection, or are you? Not Anata. Not Anata. That is fun to say. Thank you for pointing that out. My friend says not Anata. I changed how the chat is displayed on the stream. I hope it looks better. I got rid of my trying to choose a fancy font, but that's because of reasons I could get into, I'm sure. But I want to finish this. Wait, you're not Anata, the deity of introspection, or are you? I am not. I am not. Not in the way you may have expected, or maybe anticipated is a better word. Better word. I can tell you who I am. What this place is. Time doesn't work like it did in your memory. Not here. Here, we can talk. Here we can talk. Allow me to explain. And then we can do jump. Where is here? There you go. I think I want to put this on a separate line though, honestly. Yeah, I want to do that. Allow me to explain. Wait, you're not a Nada, the deity of introspection? Or are you? I am not. Not in the way you may have expected, or maybe anticipated is a better word. I can tell you who I am, what this place is. Time doesn't work like it did in your memory. Not here. Here, we can talk. Allow me to explain. And then jump where is here. So even though we have all of these dialogue options, we only have 2 destinations on this page, 2 other nodes that we have to accommodate, that we have to create. Where is here and conversation start. So obviously I'm not going to do conversation start first. That's like the whole, that's the big part. That's where we get to past the introduction. I want to do the exposition next. So where is here is going to be the next part. So when we look at this in the beginning of our branching dialogue, we want to think about how we get to this point. So this, where exactly is here, jumps to where is here. That's after thank you, yes, though I'm not sure why. So we have the player potentially is carrying into where is here a sense of familiarity, or at least the expression of a sense of familiarity. So we have that going on. Yes, but I thought it was a dream. If this is real, then you're the curator. Yes, I'm ready for the next conversation start. Yes, but I'd like to hear about this place once again. So for the first 2 options here, we have a sense of familiarity. So we have familiar and also not familiar. Where am I? Where is here? Hello again. That one doesn't even go there. So basically, our characters that we're creating for the player to experience are either confident that they know what's going on, they're pretty sure they have the impression of something, and they either want to keep going or they want to learn more, or they don't know what's happening. So I think my approach to teaching is really good here too, because when you go to explain a concept, what you can do is you can actually ask questions to get a sense of where somebody's experience has brought them up to this point. From those questions, you can sculpt your explanations. So what we could do when we get to the next part is we could actually have it set up so it says, this is the meta multiverse, and I am the curator. And then we explain what that means in a way that is just like an overview. And then we ask clarifying questions. So like presenting the idea, getting the impression, building on the conversation so that we're able to deliver the information that players are curious about without throwing a ton of exposition on them, regardless of whether they want it or not. I mean, in the very first dialogue option, we have 2 options away, jumps, I guess 3, I don't know. A short conversation jumps through the entire exposition part of the dialogue section of the game. So we want to try to keep that going. We want it to be like an authentic conversation which adapts to what you're saying. And I want to create things that you can say that kind of capture a lot of different realities. Like I summed up all of existence in 4 words. I feel like that experience can lend itself well to this kind of thing as well. So really, we only have 2 different places, and the rest of it from here to the conversation start is just going to be talking, giving exposition, giving explanation, talking about what the meta-multiverse is, and talking about who the curator is. We could set that up in a new node, and then have multiple nodes going from there if we want to, tie it all back to the conversation start. So when we get to conversation start, we're going to have to keep in mind that it's kind of along the way, we could actually set up variables. Like if we have something particularly interesting that we want to reference later, we can throw that in there. It's kind of like how they do when you can choose your background in a video game, and there are special dialogue options that show up based on your background. They put into the dialogue tree, check this variable. If this variable is equal to this, or if this variable is true, then you have these options presented, and those go to their own little worlds, which end up tying back to the main narrative. So we have quite a lot here in the first words of the curator, but it all is distilled to 2 destinations, which sets up conversation start to be especially effective. Look, we got a new friend. It says, "Good evening, guys," with little characters that are reminiscent of happy eyes. Obel? I like that. I like that as a shortening of your name. That's what people do on Twitch, right? They shorten your name so they can reference you. People usually call me Musical when I'm out and about watching others. Hello and welcome. Thank you for being here, for existing, and for coinciding. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you have any thoughts about the meta-multiverse, the curator, and branching dialogue trees. I would love to hear them. But yeah, so when we get to conversation start, we can make the assumption rather safely that the character, the player, has asked enough questions to have a sense of what's going on. Abel says, "Thank you for sharing your work with us. I just arrived, but I'm really interested in what you're saying and showing." Awesome. Well, thank you for arriving. You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. You know, with the curator's first words of this video game. You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. Yes, I'm glad you find this interesting. I'm glad to share it too, because I find it interesting. Creating dialogue trees, so much fun. I'd never done it before, even though I knew how. So now I'm actually doing it myself, because as much as I would love to work with a team, I don't know how to do that. So I'm just doing it myself, which definitely sounds like something I would do. All right, so we have where is here, we have conversation start. I think everything is tied off here in the first words. We can get rid of this extra space though. We can do that. And maybe we can come back here. So I'll be going back here depending on what I want to do, because we can actually set up variables to be read again. I saw an example in the documentation for Chatterbox, checking to see if a node has been visited. I wrote that down in my notes. But as far as like independent, like individual dialogue lines within nodes, we'll probably have to use variables to see how that goes. So yeah, a conversation with the curator. Wait, you're not Onada, the deity of introspection, or are you? I am not in the way you may have expected, or maybe anticipated is a better word. Yeah, the curator sounds pretty pretty cool so far. I like this character that's developing. All right, so when we go back here, yeah, we should see where is here and conversation start. So I'm going to put that over there. So I'm actually, whoop. Oh, it's over there now. Okay, now it's all the way over there. Now it's all the way over there. Now it's down there. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's just zoom out a little bit. Anyway, so we do have these nodes, where is here and conversation start, automatically created. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to export this as a yarn file real quick, just so I have the first words saved and everything. So in the meantime, you can look at my face in my room while I export this yarn file and put it in a place where it can be saved and named. So we'll go here. I'm just going through my folders. I have so many documents. Okay. Where did I save that anywhere? I guess I'll just throw it on the desktop. Abel says, are you using Twine or something similar? I'm using Crochet. And it's version 0.1.7 in the alpha. Okay, so this is the first words.yarn. I could set up a version structure, and I think I probably will at a later point, but not right now. I have the first words.yarn. I have it saved now, so we can go back to the medium screen and take a look at this again. Yep, got crochet going. I saw a tutorial because I looked into creating branching dialogue systems and filling them with information, giving them the adaptability to manipulate variables and to communicate rather simply with Game Maker Studio too, which is what I'll be using to actually create the game. And they recommended Crochet. I did some more research, followed some more links, explored GitHub, and ended up settling on Chatterbox. So some of the stuff we're doing is like, I guess, inherent to the Yarn language, but some of it is actually like Chatterbox specific stuff that we'll be getting into once we tie everything together. We have conversation start and where is here. So what I'm going to do real quick actually is go run to the bathroom real quick, because I am a person who has to do that sometimes. And it's been an hour and a half since I started, so why don't we take a look at the pause screen. You can listen to a song that I made. I put it in reverse because I really like how it sounds when you do that. We'll just hang out, and then maybe, just maybe this time, when I return, I'll remember to unmute myself before talking. We'll see. Here's to hoping for the best. Okay, I've returned and I unmuted myself. I did remember. My friend Abel says, nice screen. Haha. Yeah, I like that one. I did a stream just the other day where we created that. It's available. I don't think it's on Twitch anymore, but it is on YouTube. I could show you all the little things that I talk about. I made another one called The Stuff I Talk About. It's got all of my links and stuff to Patreon, where I'm creating my book, where I just published a free to own, I guess, if you wanted. You could pay for it if you wanted as well. TTRPG with unlimited potential. It's a lot of fun. Got some music on SoundCloud. I don't do anything on Instagram, but I always want to. I'm kind of in that space where I feel compelled to do it, but don't do it, so I just feel guilty for not having done it. So that's always fun. But you can check those out if you want. My friend can put links in the chat if any of those call out to you. My friend Abel says, that's cool. I'll be sure to check it out. All right. Well, thank you. That's really kind of you. Just looking is such a generous thing to do. I really appreciate that. Yeah, but it's really cool. It's got The Gravity of Gravity, where it's a speculative sci-fi adventure where it asks the question, if humanity learned to calm down, learned to chill, and dealt with its main problems, what would happen if even in an idyllic space, how would people respond if gravity paused for 2 seconds? So it's about that. It's really cool. Anyway, so for going forward, I suppose, with today's stream, let's go back over to medium screen once again. So we have the first words, all of them leading to cool. Abel says, as a bachelor in physics, I'd use amazing. Oh, you would love it then. It is. I did so much research trying to extrapolate on current technologies to speculate on what would be available in a society that emphasizes inclusion and support, and the social impact of those developed technologies. So there's a lot of stuff like that in it. It's yeah, it is really cool, or amazing, as you'd say. Yeah, it's a lot. I think you'd love it. The first 3 chapters are up there. I'm writing it and posting it as I go. Chapter 4 should be done really soon. And then the other ones you can read now for free. It includes none of it is AI generated, but it does talk about AI. So there's a AI character that that was inspired by ChatGPT, but ChatGPT didn't write any of her dialogue. It's really funny. It's man, yeah, it's really silly. I think you'll like it. Okay, so where is here? Where exactly is here? All of these questions, all of these, what is going on? Tell me about it. So now, when we get to where is here, of course, this is what we have, right? We have this situation where now we have to explain where here is. Here is the meta-multiverse, the place between realities, the place where everything is interconnected, the place where I would write very extensively how things are tied together, if not for wanting to respect intellectual property rights. Of course, you know, if you're playing We Are Gods by yourself, which also takes place in the meta-multiverse, you could be Spider-Man in Skyrim if you wanted, that kind of thing. Everything coexists. That's the idea. And the Curator exists in between, helping people find the experiences that they need and maintaining a sense of balance across the meta-multiverse. So where is here? The Curator begins to talk. Here is the meta-multiverse. And I am the Curator. Here is the space between realities, the ocean of oceans. Here is where everything exists, where everything beyond everything exists. Here is where I share stories, where I bring to you. Oh, you don't have to post the links. I mean, I guess you could. That would make it easier, right? My friend Raven. That's fine. Yeah, if you want to do that, I mean, if anybody, yeah, there's the Patreon one. That'll take you straight to it. Where I bring to you a new reality. Abel says, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's very kind, very generous. I'm thankful for everyone who is here. Okay, so here we are. Exposition time, right? Here is the meta multiverse, and I am the curator. Here is the space between realities, the ocean of oceans. Here is where everything exists, where everything beyond everything exists. Here is where I share stories, where I bring to you a new reality. Here is not a destination. It is instead a stone. Maybe I should leave here is not a destination by itself. We'll do a semicolon as well. It is instead a what kind of imagery do we want to use here? It is instead it's not a destination. It's a place where destinations are created, where they're imagined. A place where, oh yeah, the YouTube link too. Thank you for that one. I just posted an ad for my TTRPG that I wrote. It's just a little thing that I put together. Seems to have caught a little bit of attention, just a little bit, which has been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying responding to people's comments and everything. It's great. I love it. I love when people share little windows into their realities with me. It's so much fun. It is instead a place where destinations are imagined, a place where multiverses are born. And here is where you travel to the next adventure. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. You go to talk to the curator in the meta multiverse, and the curator says, here is the meta multiverse, and I am the curator. Here is the space between realities, the ocean of oceans. Here is where everything exists, where everything beyond everything exists. Here is where I share stories, where I bring to you a new reality. Here is not a destination. It is instead a place where destinations are imagined, a place where multiverses are born. And here is where you travel to the next adventure. What do you even say to that? I guess we have to have dialogue options for like responses now, right? Okay. I'm not entirely sure that makes sense. How about that one? Okay, I'm not entirely sure that makes sense. That sounds like something fair to say in response to that. Oh yeah, now I remember. That's another good one. Then we could do... I think I understand. And another one. Thank you for the explanation. How about that? I love the I think I understand, because like I'm imagining what the curator would say to that, and it would be like something, it would be ridiculous. It would be like, you think you understand, and so understanding is something that you've created. You're expecting perhaps an external validation of your concept of understanding. What if I were to tell you that your understanding is true, just like any other, that knowledge itself is circumstantial and temporary, that even in this moment, when we have our discrete experiences of the words being said, each of our lives and our realities are distinctly different, they're unique. And so understanding is true if you believe it is. Understanding is understanding, in a way. You understand in the way that you do. I think I understand. And so you do understand in the way that you understand. I guess, I don't know. Just something ridiculous like that. That sounds like something the curator would say. Okay, so far we have a bit of exposition for where is here, right? Now, not everybody who goes through the first words are going to end up getting to this point. Some people are skipping straight to the start of the conversation that determines the variables that create the unique game based on the conversation that they're going to play at the end. But for people who are here, they want to know more, because if we think about it this way, right, the psychology of the player, if somebody gets to the first words and they don't select an option that leads to where is here, then they're not interested in learning more, right? That's, I think, a fair assumption to make. So when we're writing dialogue, we want to think about like not only the continuity of the character that the words suggest, but also the continuity of the experience of the player. So at this point, if in all cases, when we end up on where is here, the player wants to know more. So we have an option in the beginning. Okay, I'm not entirely sure that makes sense, where we can ask for more clarification. We have another option. Oh yeah, now I remember, where we can diverge into more conversation about where here is, or we can say, okay, let's go on to start the conversation. I think I understand is an invitation to talk about what understanding is, and then thank you for the explanation is a great way to segue into anything we can imagine. My friend Alvin says, are they in some kind of weird space? Sorry, English is not my first language. I mean, like something out of reality. Or they're in a regular room, just for me to visualize as you create. So that's a very good question. What I imagine is, this is what I would love to do, but I'm going to have to settle for something else. What I would love to do is to have the meta multiverse space be a place that is familiar to the player, to the person playing. Because in this space beyond space, in this conceptual realm, familiarity is the lens, right? We interpret our realities through the understanding that we develop and accumulate. So when we go into a weird space where things are weird, just like you said, that is a great description of it. What we see is a reflection of the reality of the observer. However, basing the space off of the player's experiences is probably not going to be feasible in a video game. So instead, what I'm imagining is a space where you're either sitting or standing. I think we can't really, well, we might be able to put that actually in the visual aspect of the game, but where you're comfortable. Let's go with sitting. Why not? Sitting feels like a good way to do it. Standing and having a conversation, there's always the anticipation of movement, which can be uncomfortable, especially over an extended period of time. So you're sitting across maybe a small table, maybe something with a flower changing its hue, shifting wildly, but perhaps not too intensely. Something relaxed. On the opposite side, sitting in a chair, is a person. This person, I don't know. I haven't decided what they look like. Maybe they look like me. Maybe they look like you. The point is, they look familiar. I would love, like, when I'm going into this space in my D&D games, the curator usually looks like me, just because that's easy to visualize, and it makes sense because I am curating the experience for them. But I haven't designed the character of the curator. I'm not so great with visual design stuff, but imagine you're having a conversation with the curator, sitting across from each other, a table at the center, small, short. It has an ever-evolving flower blossoming eternally. In the space beyond, you are on a stage between what look like massive galactic bodies, stars swirling, effervescent in their nature. Some appearing to be more nuanced, more complex, more dissonant at times. Some appearing to be rather new, rather young. These massive celestial bodies occupying the background, shifting, swirling. Universes and multiverses themselves. Your mind attempting to understand what is happening. But yeah, very colorful, very floaty, very space-themed. You're sitting in a chair having a conversation with someone who maybe looks like me, but I don't know, because I haven't gotten that far yet. And this is where you begin. This is where you arrive. You arrive, what's the phrase that I use in my D&D games? I have two phrases that I like. The first is, all of a sudden, you're not where you were. And then we describe the scenario. The other one is, you open your eyes and you see. So that's the energy of like the beginning of this game. So I might actually have in the beginning, like in like a just text on a screen before we get into the space with the curator and the first words are said. It'll be like a description of your existence. So it'll be very generalized. It'll just be talking about like discrete consciousness, a lived life, experiences and memories and opinions, all things colliding together and accumulating and creating a perspective, your current perspective, your idea, your experience, I guess, which then shifts in an instant and you find yourself somewhere beyond. So it'll be like to, maybe introducing some questions there, like what, maybe introducing questions, what brought you here kind of thing. Maybe drawing attention to that, but that's basically what it is. You open your eyes and you see the curator. The curator says, "You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome." And then we just kind of go on from there. So that's that. Albel says, "Great. Loved the concept." Thank you. I'm really excited about all this stuff too. Because it's gonna be a fair bit of a journey actually making this game, but hopefully I'll have some help along the way, and if not, then we get to learn together. We get to go on this next adventure. Okay, so now we have a few options here. So I'm gonna have to go through and make sure all of this is right once I learn more and actually put it into practice and everything. But in the meantime, what do we say when the curator explains the meta multiverse and the player responds, "Okay, I'm not entirely sure that makes sense. Do we do a callback? Is that possible? Actually, I do want to check. Let me see. We could have information appear in multiple ways. No, we can't. Never mind. I wrote it a different way. All right, so this is what we'll do. Okay, I'm not entirely sure that makes sense. What would the curator say to someone who is trying to grasp the meta multiverse, having just arrived? Sense is made over time with great effort. Thankfully, you don't need to make sense of it on your own. I am here to answer your questions. There we go. I'm here to answer your questions. Okay, so what questions do we have? Do any of you have questions, perhaps? Maybe we can put that in the game and see what you think. Maybe I can answer it for you. Okay. I'm not entirely sure that makes sense. Sense is made over time with great effort. Thankfully, you don't need to make sense of it on your own. I'm here to answer your questions. We could have... no, I don't need to do that. I need to do that and then that. There we go. Here, we could have the option... You called this place an ocean of oceans. What does that mean? I think that's a good question to ask. Ask the curator. What does that mean? So we have that one. Oh, you know what we could do? Actually, this is going to be really good. This is going to be really good to think about. Because what we can do is we can have these questions appear in multiple places and we can dedicate a node to answering them, right? But then we would have to, I need to look into that some more actually. But I'm just going to keep writing for now, and then in my own free time, or maybe on the next stream, who knows, I'll go ahead and make sure that I've got a good structure for this part, because I think the first part is pretty good to go because it doesn't loop back on itself. But this one might be a little more complex. My friend Raven says, LOL, I'm so used to these ideas that questioning the ocean of oceans didn't occur to me. Nice. Yeah, Raven has been in my D&D games for years now, so this kind of stuff comes up all the time. Also, we talk a lot, and I talk about this stuff all the time as well, so yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, you call something an ocean of oceans, not everybody's going to understand what you mean. So I'm going to write out, basically I'm going to fill out the options here, and then I'm going to double check something in between now and the next time we look at it, and then I'll make sure that I'm doing this in a good way. Because what we could do... No, I'm having a lot of thoughts, and there's information that I don't have yet. You called this place an ocean of oceans. What does that mean? Let's see. You said this place is beyond the beyond. You said this place is beyond the beyond. I didn't think that could happen. How about that? Beyond's the beyond. Not sure. What else is confusing about a meta multiverse? There are strange bodies in the sky. What are they? If there's a flower here, there must be water. Can I have some? Yep. Water check. You always have to work that into what you're writing. You'll see that at the ends of the chapters of the Gravity of Gravity on my Patreon. Always got to remember to have some water. All right, cool. So we have, you called this place an ocean of oceans. What does that mean? You said this place is beyond the beyond. I didn't think that could happen. There are strange bodies in the sky. What are they? If there's a flower here, there must be water. Can I have some? Well, universe's best creation. Yeah, it is so nice. I love drinking water. It's incredible. I'm very glad that I have the opportunity to experience that. And I can do it very often as well, which is absolutely incredible. Okay. So that's what we'll have there. Thank you for the explanation. We'll have a response. You are absolutely welcome, my friend. You're absolutely welcome, my friend. Do you have any questions? And for this one, we could do, can you tell me more about yourself? We could do, let's see. Any questions? Can you tell me more about yourself? No. No. How about this? You mentioned a conversation. What's the conversation about? And then we have, no, I'm ready for what's next. How about that? And then that'll jump over to conversation start. Okay, so we have some questions here. We have a couple questions and then a cut to the next thing here. Thank you for the explanation. I think I understand. We could do a similar thing. Unless we wanted to bring attention to understanding. If you think you understand, then you do. In the way you are able to. If that is satisfactory, do you have any questions? I don't want to do that. My friend Raven says, that feels like such a good response to, I think I understand. If you think you understand, then you do, in the way you were able to. If that is satisfactory, do you have any questions? And then we do, that's in line with that, so this is in line here. Nope, this one. And then we'll just copy this one, basically. Can you tell me more about yourself? We can do another one. I gotta check to see if you mentioned a conversation is true. I'm not confident it is, but I do want to like add a question here and then have something else. Oh, what are interesting questions about the meta multiverse? Maybe like, how long has this been here? What happened to my home? To my home. Am I dead? Yeah, that's a good question. That's such a good one. I'm gonna have to put that in there. I think I understand. What happened to my home? Yeah, actually we could do am I dead? And then have what happened to everything in like the text that follows that. That'd be pretty good. Can you tell me more about yourself? Am I dead? Let's see. The curator explains the meta multiverse, gives basically a description of of their job there, and then you say, "Am I dead? Am I dead? Can you tell me more about yourself? Am I dead? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? What happens next? No." I'm ready for what's next. And for that one, we'll do, in that case, I have a question for you. And then that'll jump to, because we put jump here, right? Jump to was it capitalized? Conversation start. That is red for some reason. I don't know why. I'll look into that. In that case, I have a question for you. All right, well, let's close out of this real quick. Okay, so it was red, but I think that is good because now it's got a tie over here to conversation start. So where is here? So basically we have the first words, an introduction, and then we have exposition if you want it, and then we all collide back over here to conversation start. What I'm anticipating is where is here is going to have a couple of other branches that all circle back to conversation start. Conversation start is going to begin with a question, and it'll start asking you questions that you answer, and it'll keep track of your responses and the path of your conversation to determine variables that generate a game unique to your playthrough of the game, I guess, right? My friend Raven says, every time I hear the question, where do we go from here? I think of that incredibly powerful musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Joe agrees. Classic, awesome show. Nice. That sounds vaguely familiar. It's on the peripherals of my memory. I did watch that show for a while. But a lot was happening at the time, and it was a long time ago. So most of it's gone. Alright, so this is actually a good thing. This is what we want. So we'll keep going from there. Can you tell me more about yourself? Am I dead? Thank you for the explanation. Am I dead? Yeah, that's a good question. I like that. Now I have to come up with an answer, of course. I do this to myself all the time. I have a question, I ask it, and now I have to answer it. That's why my multiverse is so detailed for the Multiverse of Aether stuff. All right, am I dead? Another one, where do we go from here? We could actually do, if we get to, I think, my friend Raven says, creating questions you then need to answer is very you. Yes, I do it all the time. Like, what would it be like to write a video game? Now I have to make a video game. You know, not necessarily the case, but I don't know how to get help with doing that, so I'm doing it myself. Hopefully somebody can help me along the way, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so no, I'm ready for what's next. Goes to jump conversation start. I think where do we go from here is going to have different response text, but will also jump to conversation start. Both for I think I understand and thank you for the explanation. So we don't have to make it like massively different. And the best part is like I might do the voice acting for this, you know, the voice of the curator. I might do that. I might look into setting that up. But for now, we don't have to worry about the logistics of having voice actors do all of these lines and triggering everything to have that line up in Game Maker. Right now, it's just going to be displaying text, like a text adventure with maybe some animations if I can figure out how to do those, and maybe some other things as well. But for now, we can actually have like a little bit of variation. So sure, these two jump to conversation start. Where do we go from here is also going to jump to conversation start. But we can have that get there a little differently. My friend Raven says, like milk inside a bag of milk inside a bag of milk. Yes. I love that game. It's so good. Both of them are incredible. Very weird, and I love that. Yeah, I have a lot of experience with like narrative-driven games as a consumer. So reverse engineering them and studying the code necessary to create one it actually has been pretty straightforward so far, but only because of my experience with coding. If I didn't have that, I would have no idea what I'm doing. But I only have a little bit of an idea of what I'm doing, which is pretty good. So I'm happy for that. All right, so where do we go from here? Wherever you want, really. But since we sit among infinite potential, we can have a conversation. We can have a conversation before we diverge. Now, what I want to do is actually I want to add an option here to give the player the ability to just like to enhance the sense of agency, where like sure there's only one option, but you are hitting the button, you are engaging with the game, you're saying something, whatever this line is at this point. Instead of saying where do we go from here, the curator talks and then we go into the jump conversation start. I think that would be more appropriate for the where do we go from here line, because that one is a bit less confident, a bit more confused, maybe a bit more hesitant. So I want to make sure that when that option is selected, a sense of agency and contribution is reinforced. So the option, there's really only one option and it goes to one place, but having that actual mechanical point, I think is super important for this line. So wherever you want, really. But since we sit among infinite potential, we can have a conversation before we diverge. What could be said to that? All right. Where do we begin? with a question, if you don't mind. The first word, by the way, of the Multiverse of Aether is exist. Nobody knows who the speaker of the first word was or what it meant, but a little behind the scenes, if you want some information. The first word that created the Multiverse of Aether was actually a response to a question. The question was, my friends asked, or actually, no, it depends on the multiverse, but the very first one, my friends asking me if I wanted to DM for them. And the first word was yes. That was when the multiverse began. Affirmation. Consent. Confirmation. All right, where do we begin? With a question, if you don't mind. And then we could do jump, conversation, start. There we go. Where do we go from here? Wherever you want, really. But since we sit among infinite potential, we can have a conversation before we diverge. All right, where do we begin? With a question, if you don't mind. Jump, conversation, start. All right. So we've tied that one off, we got that one done, and we can actually take these and just duplicate them here. So basically both of these dialogue options they have a different introduction, but they have the same options after that with probably the same responses, but we'll double check. Do you have any questions? Can you tell me more about yourself? So what we can do here is actually, we can go, this is where information would be very helpful, like how to, or whether to, actually I can decide that, whether to cycle back to have more questions or to make it so that in order to ask the other questions, you have to go through the conversation again, I guess. I don't know. It's like a kind of train of thought, really. We could set that up with variables, I think. We could do that with logic statements too. So maybe we don't do that today. Maybe we don't worry about it too much. Maybe we just get the framework. Can you tell me more about yourself? Of course, my friend. Have a great night, guys, and enjoy the stream, says Abel. I'm getting quite late. I'd better get some sleep. Hope to see you another day. Likewise, actually, thank you for being here. I really appreciate that. I hope you rest well when you get to it. I'll probably be back at it tomorrow, depending on how that goes, but we'll see. I look forward to our next coincidence, our next conversation. Thank you for visiting, and have a good night. Let's see, of course, my friends. And then we do jump. I am the curator. Then we can have another node for getting into who the curator is specifically. Oh, isn't that nice? Linky Bear Comics says night. Good night. Good night to our friend Abel. And hello, first time chat, it says. Welcome. I hope you're doing all right too. I really am grateful that you're here. So thank you. Thank you for doing that, for coinciding. All right, so yes, I do want to create another node. I am the curator to get more familiar with this character itself and its entity-ness. Okay. So let's see. We'll have to keep that in mind. I am the curator is a place where it probably starts with I am the curator. So these other ones are so basically, if it doesn't fully make sense, then we have some questions. I might make this like a node in itself, basically, with jumping and hopping is another command, I think, function maybe. I don't remember the difference. Hopping between things so we can actually ask all of these. So if like the player says, I'm not entirely sure that makes sense, that is the strongest I don't know what's going on out of all of the options here. So I want to spend some time with like addressing that specifically. So everything that I have here for this section will probably end up being expanded on once I get more familiar with the structure of the code and my options. But I think I understand is fair enough to not like expand on massively. And, you know, I even have it leading to jumping to the conversation start, jumping to I am the curator, that kind of thing. So I think I understand, and thank you for the explanation. Both of those are pretty stable, I guess, in terms of like understanding and positioning and everything. So thank you for the explanation. Pretty good. So I think I'll do that. Jump to I am the curator. Yeah, I think that's good. Am I dead? I don't... Look, okay, here's what I am thinking right now. I am thinking that Abel had a very good point, that it was getting quite late. And I'm also thinking that after everything I've done today, I don't want to try to answer the question, am I dead? Not right now. I'll do that tomorrow, probably. But I think actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as a yarn file again. I'm going to export it. You can look at my lovely face and hang out in my room if you want while I set this up. Export new yarn, first words, yarn, new yarn. I'll just leave that there. All right. Maybe I'll come up with a structure for that. I thought I had, but I'll look into it some more. Growth, continuity, scaling. These are all things that we need to focus on early on so that when we get to all of these branching dialogues, we can tie them together and keep them clean. So I guess that is today's stream, you know? The first words of the Curator, the video game that I am creating the Curator. Thank you for being here, for watching, for existing, for making it through another day. Congratulations and welcome. You know, those are actually pretty good words. You've arrived. Congratulations and welcome. Great words for the Curator. And I hope you enjoyed today's stream. I hope you rest well the next time you go to do so. And I do deeply look forward to our next conversation. In the meantime, I'll go over here. I'll hit the end button so that it goes to the end screen. And we'll see what happens next. Thank you again. Thank you for existing.